So just as we're going on air, Trump has canceled his summit with Kim Jong-un, which was, I thought was a great move because Kim Jong-un was doing that thing that Kim Jong-un does where he starts to strut and I won't do this if you don't do that and I'm not going to do this. And he's like squashed him. Talking about diner trap, it was like bang, just like squished him. Who knows what'll happen? One of the things, I don't report on the future too much here. I try to report on things that have actually gone on. So I don't know where this will ultimately go, but I think that Trump is showing that he's in control, and he was put out a letter saying about how big our nuclear arsenal is, and I'd hate to use it, which I thought was also sending a good message. But here is the thing about Trump that Trump is doing that I just love. He is changing our underlying assumptions. We talk about the NFL. He's moving the football of our assumptions, and I think that I cannot tell you how important I think this is. When I sit and talk to people about the culture and how the right lets the culture slip away, the culture doesn't work because they make a movie that promotes some social justice warrior agenda. It doesn't change anything because somebody makes a movie attacking the war on terror. It doesn't work through propaganda means. That is very highly overrated. What the culture does is the culture establishes what our moral assumptions are and where they stand, what they call the Overton window, what is fine for people to say. I have a pal, a friend, Owen Brennan over at Madison McQueen, and he has really done some great work. He's working, I think, with the Ted Cruz campaign now. He does a lot of campaign work on YouTube, and videos and commercials. And he has done a real study about this, about how the left operates to change our assumptions by having one sector of the left state the most outrageous thing. Maybe they'll put it up on a piece of art out in the public art or something like that. And that just moves the conversation to the left. And then the guy who's on MSNBC can move it a little further to the left. And then the guys who's on NBC can move it a little further to the left. And they're constantly reinforcing this with their movies, with their novels. This is what it means for them to own the means of communication. So it's just think about movies. Think about movies. In every movie, a woman who devotes herself to homemaking is unhappy and dissatisfied instead of happy. That is just an assumption. Religious people, small-minded. Instead of you meet religious people and they're incredibly forgiving, open-minded, and kind, but in the movies they always hate gays or they're raping people or something like that. Every movie is like that. That just changes the underlying assumption. See, it starts out by them saying, oh, the priest did it. Isn't that shocking? Because we know priests wouldn't do it. But then it ends up that the priest is always the bad guy. America is the bad guy instead of the good guy. If you watch some of those Bourne Identity films, the first one is one of my favorite films, The Bourne Identity, and then the rest of them are made by, I think it's Paul Greenglass made them, and they're just like so anti-American. And every time a flag appears, it's a sign that something bad is going to happen. Every time an American flag appears, it's a danger sign. Bum, 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 the music comes up and all this stuff. That is a big deal. You heard Spike Lee say it the other day. It was infuriating. Oh, America's not the cradle of liberty. Anywhere he had said that before there was an America, he'd have been arrested. Anywhere he had attacked his own country like that before he was arrested. And of course, they did it with gays really very well. The gay people used to be comical. It came on just the fact that they were, a guy was effeminate or, flitted around. That was a joke. Now it's tragic, or it's he's the wise character, or it's whatever it is. They basically just changed the assumptions on this. And one of my problems with Republicans, and I think a lot of people's problems with Republicans, and one of the reasons I think people voted for Donald Trump, is that Republicans accepted the assumptions of the left. And the people who were really to blame for this were the Bushes. And this is not a personal attack on the Bushes. It is a philosophical attack on the Bushes. The first Bush, George Bush, got up, I think it was his convention speech. He got up and he said, I believe in a kinder, gentler America. I want a kinder, gentler country. And Nancy Reagan famously is said to have turned to Ronald Reagan and said, kinder and gentler than whom? Because, of course, he was talking about Reagan, and he was accepting the left's idea that Reagan was this harsh, warmongering bad guy, and now we were going to be kind. George W. Bush did it again with compassionate conservatism. Compassionate conservatism. What other kind of conservatism is there? What can be more compassionate than preserving our freedoms, preserving the Constitution? So when they accept the left's assumptions, the ball naturally moves downfield to the left. That is why people were so upset with the basic establishment that Trump overturned. And Trump, listen, so here's what happens, right? The NFL just came out and they said, you know what? You have to stand for the national anthem. You can stay, you don't have to come out on field. If you want to protest, you can stay off the field. But if you come on field, you have to stand for the national anthem or there's a team fine. Here is, what's his name? I always forget. Goodell, right. The NFL, the guy in charge of the NFL. Here he is making the announcement.
Clearly, our objective as a league and to all 32 clubs, which was unanimous, is that we want people to be respectful to the national anthem. We want people to stand. That's all personnel, and make sure that they treat this moment in a respectful fashion. That's something that we think we owe. We've been very sensitive in making sure that we give players choices, but we do believe that moment is an important moment. There's been incredible engagement with the players on this. We've talked to tens, if not hundreds of players about this over the last year or so to get their input, to understand their positions, and again, to respect those, as I think was stated here.
This now, Mike Pence, everybody got angry because Mensch, the vice president, tweeted out winning. This is winning. You know, I actually agree. I mean, first of all, there's no free speech, First Amendment thing here. These guys are paid to play, and when they are on the field, and really all the time, they have to represent the NFL. So when they are on the field, they owe it to their employers not to destroy their business. This was unanimous among the teams. Why? Because it's destroying their business. Nobody wants to turn on America's game and see America get the finger. That's all it is. And you can talk about, it wasn't disrespectful. It was patriotic. It was this. It wasn't. When this started to happen, I was watching ESPN, which I rarely do, and every single commentator said the same thing. Well, they have the right to do it. They have the right to do it. And I was sitting there talking to my television set, as one does, and saying, I know they have the right to do it. That doesn't mean it's right. It's not right. The things that they are protesting on the grounds of American values represented by the flag. So anyway, the thing that really bothered me was the assumption that they could just do it, that it was all right for them to just do it. Because I think for most Americans, they're saying, hey, you got to protest. I get it. You have problems in the black community, which is really what this was about. Colin Stuperdink was, the guy who started all this, saying, he's got this radical girlfriend and he thinks the police are mistreating people in black neighborhoods. I don't agree, but you have a right to protest that. You have a right to bring that to my attention. As my fellow American, as my brother American, you have a right to do that and to appeal to my values. And I will make a decision whether my values are being violated by the police in those neighborhoods. You don't have absolute authority to say what's right and wrong, but you certainly have the right to bring that to my attention because we're both Americans. If we're not both Americans, if we don't share the same values, what do I care? What do I care if you're in Saudi Arabia and your rights are being violated? That's too bad, but you're not on my watch. Here you're on my watch. You have a right to say it because of the flag. So when you say it by disrespecting the flag, you're actually violating the contract between the two of us. So I thought it was wrong. Nobody said that. Nobody said that because the underlying assumption of the press is that America is a bad place. So Trump responded in his typical Trumpian way, kind of needling them even as he was accepting the win.
I don't think people should be staying in locker rooms, but still, I think it's good. You have to stand proudly for the national anthem. Well, you shouldn't be playing. You shouldn't be there. Maybe you shouldn't be in the country. You have to stand proudly for the national anthem. And the NFL owners did the right thing if that's what they've done.
If that is the story, do you feel like you pushed this story forward and you pushed this to a conclusion?
I think the people pushed it forward. This was not me. I brought it out. I think the people pushed it forward. This country is very smart. We have very smart people. And that's something ideally could have been taken care of when it first started. It would have been a lot easier. But if they did that, they're doing the right thing.
So the point about this is, look, I don't think this is going to change anything. I think it's probably going to extend the whole controversy. People will protest. They'll stay in the locker. Then that'll become an issue and all this stuff. It doesn't matter. The point is, and I think the intellectuals on the right don't get this because they do not understand how narrative and storytelling works. The point is Trump has undercut. He has moved the football of our national assumptions back to where they belong, because this is the way most people feel, but not the elites. Listen to MSNBC discussing this.
So they're saying they don't want players to express their political views, but the players have to abide by the owner's political views. That's what this comes across as.
Well, the players aren't, the good news about this policy is that the players aren't conscripted to stand there when they don't want to be standing there. I personally don't see what the big deal is about kneeling. Kneeling feels like a pretty respectful activity to me. But the players aren't able to in an appropriate, respectful way, express their views. They can they don't have to be conscripted, but they don't get to, remember the athletes with the Black Power salute? They don't get to express their views during that time. I have never understood why it was so disrespectful to the flag to have a cow about them doing it. Seems to me to be respectful to the Constitution to allow some respectful
Here's why they did
debate.
it, though. Well, here's why they did it. Let's put up the Mike Pence Twitter feed today.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, Mike Pence believes, hey, winning, that's what he tweeted, winning, Charlie. So
Winning by silencing.
winning.
Cultural war winning.
And you're like, because you got the NFL to be cowed by Donald Trump.
See, every single word of that is based on the assumption that America is not a good place and it is okay to disrespect the flag. And all Donald Trump said is that for most of us, it's not okay. This is a service. This is a business, right? We talked about this yesterday. This is a business. Their job is to please their audience. It does not please their audience. And what we were supposed to do is we were supposed to sit there and take it. We were supposed to say, well, they have the right to do this. But no, we have the right to say, yeah, okay, I'm not watching it. And that's what happened, and it happened because the president brought it to this surface and moved the football of the assumption. Here's the other. This is true with Obamagate too. This thing with Obama, investigating the Trump campaign. This does nothing. It has nothing to do with who is a nice person and who's a bad person. Okay, Trump is out there with this Spygate. The left keeps saying, well, he's trying to undermine the investigation. He probably is. We know Trump does this stuff. We know he does it. But listen to him talking. I mean, he is playing the press with absolute confidence at this point as he makes fun of Obama spying on his campaign.
All you have to do is look at the basics and you'll see it looks like a very serious event. But we'll find out. When they look at the documents, I think people are going to see a lot of bad things happen. I hope it's not so, because if it is, there's never been anything like it in the history of our country. If you look at Clapper, he sort of admitted that they had spies in the campaign yesterday, inadvertently. But I hope it's not true, but it looks like it is. We're not undercutting, we're cleaning everything up. This was a terrible situation. What we're doing is we're cleaning everything up. It's so important. What I'm doing is a service to this country. And I did a great service to this country by firing James Comey. And, excuse me, a lot of people have said it. And you go into the FBI, and a lot of those great people working in the FBI, they will tell you, I did a great service to our country by firing James Comey. A lot of bad things have happened. We now call it Spygate. You're calling it Spygate. A lot of bad things have happened. I want them all to get together. They'll sit in a room. Hopefully, they'll be able to work it out among themselves.
You can say that that's just Trump being Trump, and I think it is just Trump being Trump. It's Trump undermining the investigation, making sure that nobody cares about what anybody says at the end. Is also confusing where they just put him out. You can see him dictating the narrative to him. But he's moving the assumption. He is moving the assumption that Obama was a worthwhile president doing the right thing. Because if Trump is just being Trump now, Obama was just being Obama when he overreacted to any kind of Russian fears by basically, maybe too much to say he was spying on the campaign, but he was infiltrating the campaign. The intelligence community did not have to react. They could have gone to Donald Trump and said, hey, you know what? Russians are trying to affect the outcome of the election. Be a little careful here. Be watchful. They could have done that. But instead, they did a full court press, and that's Obama being Obama, the same way he did when he used the IRS to silence his opponents, the same way he did when he so corrupted the Justice Department with Loretta Lynch and Eric, what's his name? Holder, thank you. And Eric Holder, that even James Comey didn't trust them to do the right thing. That was just Obama being Obama. And that is the assumption that he's moving there. And of course, the other assumption that the press is honest. This is the big one. The one he has really changed is the assumption that somehow the press is is a voice of truth against power. You know, recently Leslie Stahl, the old CBS reporter, made a comment about how Donald Trump, she talked about Donald Trump being Donald Trump. Let's listen to this, cut 6.
Before the interview, I met with him in Trump Tower. And he really is the same off camera that he is on camera, exactly the same. And at one point, he started to attack the press. And it's just me and my boss and him. He has a huge office. And he's attacking the press. And there were no cameras. There was nothing going on. And I said, you know, that is getting tired. Why are you doing this? You're doing it over and over, and it's boring, and it's time to end that. You know, you've won the nomination. And why do you keep hammering at this? And he said, you know why I do it? I do it to discredit you all and demean you all, so when you write negative stories about me, no one will believe you.
So, of course, the press went nuts. See, we told you. But they didn't report this thing that she also said, cut number 2.
Democrats think that reporters are on their side. They expect reporters to be kind to them and gentle. They expect it because they assume we're liberals and we're going to be on their side. And when we're not, and when we're tough, they feel betrayed. They feel that there's been a family break of some kind. The Republicans expect us to be tough, and they just accept that we're tough, and we're all treated the same. It's very professional. They don't call you up at night and yell at you.
See, the press is right. Trump is just being Trump, but he can only get away with it because the structure he's attacking is so rotten, because the assumptions are so untrue. And if you know the assumption that that America is bad, that Obama was good, that the press is fair, they're so untrue that even though it's a technique, it works. It works because they have been selling us this bill of goods, undermining the basic kind of values that we have lived by, undermining them and sort of telling us, oh yeah, those aren't our basic values. Those aren't the right assumptions. And that's what Trump is moving. That's the football he's moving. And I think it's a good thing. And I think a lot of our guys on the right who are, who live too high, they live up in the stratosphere of intellect, they don't see what he's doing. And it really is a good thing.